Have you ever wondered if what's going on in the government school system is actually legitimately evil? This is a really great question, and the answer might surprise you. My guest today is Marissa Streit. She is a former public school educator and an administrator. She also serves as the CEO at PragerU University. This is going to be an interview you won't want to miss. It's straight fire. Stick around. I think you're going to be encouraged. Well, I hope you guys are enjoying my guests that we've been having on the show lately. Tomorrow, I've got another fantastic guest coming on, and we're going to talk about what is happening in our media in this country, and especially in light of AT&T and DirecTV's cancellation of Newsmax. You guys might notice that they are literally stripping the mainstream media from any sort of conservative commentary. This is a really important thing. You guys have an opportunity to fight back. Tomorrow, you're going to learn how to do that. I have a very special guest. You're not going to want to miss it. In the meantime, I'm really happy to be able to air part 2 of my interview with Marissa Streit. Marissa and I are going to be talking today about the medical establishment's push to transition children and what we can do about the sexualization of children that's coming at our children in the government schools. With whatever the narrative is of the mainstream media, this is our future, and we need to care about it.
Yeah, you know how many employers I know that can't find employees that have like a decent way of thinking because,
Right.
they've been, indoctrinated.
Right.
I mean, it's impacting our entire economy. And look at the type of employees that we're hiring now.
Mm-hmm.
It's all there's no patriotism. You're
Yeah.
lucky if they know how to read, write, and do math. But even if they can do those things, just the this woke agenda of like I deserve more,
Mm-hmm.
I hate
Mm-hmm.
America,
I'm a victim.
I'm a victim, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Of course, it's going to impact all of us. It's why really education got us into this mess, and only
Mm-hmm.
education will get us out of this mess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And parents, it's going to require courage. And I think, courage is in short supply in the United States right now. I think we're starting to see a resurgence of it. And I had the privilege a couple of years ago to speak for my friend Jack Hibbs at Comeback, California. And I believe Dennis was there also speaking at that same event. But my encouragement to parents was get off the bench, get onto the battlefield. This is not going to stop until people of conscience who recognize what's happening to their children and to our country that we love. This is an amazing nation that we live in. We have so much to be thankful for. But unless we're willing to stand up where we are and defend it, it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And it takes courage. We have a crisis of courage in this country. And I'm thrilled to see voices like yours come into the forefront because I think it gives parents the courage and the information because you're arming people with information. You're like, hey, go to your next teacher's meeting, to your next board meeting, and just read from the platform of the NEA. I dare you. Read from the platform of the NEA and then look at the audience, which is what I used to do. Look at the audience and say, is this what you want for your children? Most of them will say no.
Right. Most of them don't want their kids to be taught gender fluidity and LGBTQ and why should a kindergartner or second grader even grapple with the issue of abortion? I mean,
unbelievable.
Other things here is packing the courts. Why is the NEA
oh my word
that they should pack the courts? It's just unbelievable. Call colleges and university to restructure and resurface level approaches for teaching and diversity, equity, and inclusion. Like really, like they want the NEA wants the schools to put more pressure on colleges to be even worse. To remove the merit-based acceptance category.
Which is why the United States, why our children are going farther and farther and farther down in the rankings in terms of what they're going to be able to accomplish. And then I'm like, what's going to happen when there's an actual real pandemic and our kids can't think straight? What then?
Right. I mean, how are we going to fight? How are we going to fight against China and Russia?
Right.
You think they're teaching this garbage to their kids about
right.
equity and inclusion and
right. Those kids are not over there, 15 hours a day watching TikTok videos. I guarantee it.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
100%.
You mentioned the parents, and I think in particular, I strongly believe that this is the time where moms need to get involved. I heard you earlier talking about a Bible study, and the Bible, the Torah, the Pentateuch, given that I come from the Jewish faith, is a very big part of my life. Dennis has written several books and commentaries on the Torah. And he started actually with the book of Exodus, not Genesis. And in the book of Exodus, there is such a strong role that women play and moms play. If you think about even just the story of Moses and the type of courage that the mom had to have to put Moses in that
basket,
right? Yeah. And the fact that there was a woman who saved, right? It was the maternal instinct that saved that baby, right? There's even a little bit of a debate on whether God actually told the Jewish moms to dispose of their babies into the river, or did he speak to all of the moms? And whether was it the Jews who were called to do it or not? And much of the conclusion around that issue was that moms were put in a place where they had to make a very tough decision. Yeah. They had to make a tough decisions, and that they had to make a tough call for their children. And so I look at those stories from the Torah, from the Bible, and I think about the life we're living today and the type of calling that is really upon us as mothers. And as difficult it is, and I know how difficult it is to speak out or to have the courage to pull your child out of whatever school they're in and the relationships and the friendships that they've built. I relate to it because I had to pull my kids out of schools too. And I understand how hard it is to stick your neck out and to be looked at as, that rebel, that strange,
the disruptor,
right? The disruptor. It's not pleasant. It's not pleasant for me. It will be a lot more pleasant for me to just like hang out and go to yoga. However, I feel like all of us need to find that fire in us so that we don't look back at the end of our lives and ask ourselves, have we done enough? Have we done everything we could to protect not just our own kids, but the environment that we're raising our children into? I think that there is a strong call for an educational revolution that needs to be led by parents, because we're the ones who are seeing the impact that it's having on our children. And from that pain and from that horror that we're witnessing needs to come strength. And that strength we need to bring together to fight for our children so we don't regret it and so it's not too late. And so what can people do? Not everybody can start an enterprise like you did. Not everybody can launch their own, PBS dream. I get that. But there is a God-given gift that has been given to every single human. We're all God's children. We all have some sort of gift. We need to find that gift in us, right? And so if we're not that gregarious and not comfortable speaking in public and can't go to a school board, what can we do? Can we pick up the phone? Can we call another friend and come together and bound together to demand a town hall in our kids' schools?
Yes.
Right? Can we join school boards? The school boards have unbelievable amount of power. Run for school board, right? Can we even confront the teacher or make a recommendation to a teacher and say, I noticed that you're not teaching Columbus or Thanksgiving anymore. Would it be okay if I come in and read a book? It would matter a lot to me if I can do that. There is something even little baby steps that everybody can do. And imagine the power of thousands of people or hundreds of thousands of people or millions of people taking little baby steps together. Before you know it, these are not going to be little baby steps. They'll be leaps. And I just feel so strongly that there is a calling that all of us need to bound together, find the courage in the fact that we believe that we're fighting for our children or fighting to do good. This is our moment. If we don't do anything about it, we will regret it. We will be looking at this episode right now in a few years from now, and we will say, I've been warned and I haven't done as much as I could, and now I regret it.
Yeah, it's right. As you're talking about it and just thinking about what our responsibility is, I'm reminded of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, right, who said that silence in the face of evil is itself evil. Not to speak is to speak. Not to act is to act. And that's where we are in the culture right now. This is our Bonhoeffer moment. This is the opportunity that we have to protect this generation and generations to come and to embrace freedom. And the most amazing thing that we have, and we've watched now, I mean, with a fair degree of horror, at least I did, in 2020, as Americans willingly gave up their freedom for fear. They chose fear over freedom. We chose to be locked in our homes over freedom. We chose safety over freedom. We're choosing all kinds of things over freedom. And freedom is what made this country the greatest nation on the face of the earth. And that we need that freedom in education. And I think what parents have been sort of blindsided by and not realized, because you rightly pointed out, what we have in our schools right now are not teachers. They're activists disguised as teachers. And they're wonderful teachers. You know, you and I know many of them. Several people in my family teach in the public school system and in private school systems. And they will tell you that they are being silenced in the schools. And we can speak up on behalf of teachers who actually want freedom back in the public school system. I want to touch on something because I wasn't sure if it was in the platform of the NEA. Did they mention transition and transgenderism at all in their platform?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of their.
Oh, I was hoping. I was wishing upon a star.
What they do is they fold it into this idea of tolerance.
Yes.
Like we said earlier, they don't even hide this stuff anymore. And so absolutely, I mean, the idea of sexual preferences, I believe is how they call it. I don't want to use the wrong term. And so I'll make sure that I use the correct terminology. But yeah.
The terms are important.
Yeah, no, the terms are important because they play with words. And when they play with words, they actually kind of manipulate us. And so, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely within their platform. And if you're watching what is happening out there, this idea that the schools are telling kids that they need to hide stuff from their parents if their parents don't support. That is the scariest thing I've ever heard, because a good teacher should tell their students at least 3 times a week, ask your parents what they think about it. That's what a good teacher does. A good teacher involves the home, right? Education is a partnership between what happens in the school and what happens in the home. Home is where you teach values. School is where you teach the academics. Of course, the schools want to take over the entire values, and they want to take over the entire child. And so you're seeing teachers who are essentially encouraging and pushing these children under this, tolerance or victim bingo thing. And more children are starting to question their gender. And they go from questioning their gender all the way through to changing their gender in a snap. I interviewed a young woman by the name of Chloe Cole from California. Heartbreaking story. I mean, I don't know if I can hold back from hold back my tears. It's so emotional to me because I spent a significant amount of time with her. When she was 11 years old, she got a cell phone. And she's a little bit of a quirky young girl. And so she had a hard time making friends. And she spent a lot of time on social media. And she looked at the Kim Kardashians and the pretty women on Instagram. And she said to herself, I'm never going to look like that. And so maybe I don't want to be a woman at all. And then she also started hearing messages like being a woman sucks. You're going to make 77 cents on the dollar when you get a job.
Lie.
Women are oppressed in America.
Lie.
They're victims. And so she said, you know what? I don't even want to be a woman. I want to be a boy. And so at age 13, she was already on puberty blockers and medication. She would wear a binder around her chest for close to 8 hours every single day. She would go running. She would go to PE. She would go swimming in this binder. So much so that it constricted her ability to, properly grow and breathe. And eventually she decided that because it was so constricting, she didn't want to wear a binder anymore. And she decided to go ahead and get surgery. And when I asked Chloe, what happened with your parents? Her mother is a nurse. Where were your parents? Were your parents okay with this? She said that her parents were so intimidated by Kaiser. Yep. Kaiser was
They are the worst.
You know what? She's suing all of them, and I hope she wins.
I hope she wins.
What they told her parents was that if they don't allow this young 13-year-old girl to remove her breasts and take all this medication, if they don't allow her to do that, she will commit suicide.
That's what they always do.
The parents, would you rather have a transgender child or a dead child? Blood will be on your hands if you don't let her take this medication and if you don't let her go through the surgery. And Chloe described to me when she was sitting there in the waiting room for the surgery to be done, how many other young girls, even younger than her, were sitting. I'm just so outraged by this because you don't hear enough of these stories to know how much of this, how prevalent this has become. And what are the chances that this kind of aberration will be so prevalent? It's just statistically impossible that there would be that many girls who transition by age 15, remove their breasts, take medication, By age 16, Chloe was taking an internet class about child development and realized that after everything she's undergone, she will not be able to be a mother.
Mm.
And she had that moment where she realized that she regretted it. She regretted transitioning, and at that point, it was too late.
Yeah, and there's no coming back.
There's
no coming back from this. I know a woman who was she used to work for Gender Pathways with Kaiser. And she came to a women's conference that I had held, and I'm trying to educate these people. This is what's happening in the culture. You need to use your voice. Your faith should be a faith that speaks. If your faith doesn't speak, then why are you having it, right? And so she came to me, I think probably somewhere in the middle of the conference, and she said she was a nurse working for Gender Pathways, and she said, Heidi, the number of young girls, very young girls, that come to us every single week, sometimes multiple people a day that have their breasts removed is absolutely heartbreaking. And shortly after that, I heard of a young girl that had Asperger's, and she's struggling with her social life, struggling with her identity, her personality. She's struggling to make friends. And somebody from the cult of transgenderism, because that's what it is, it's a religion to these people, proselytized to this young girl who already has mental and social and emotional problems, and basically talked her, terrified her parents, exactly what you're just saying that what happened to Chloe's parents, terrified her parents, who said, listen, you can have a live boy or you can have a dead daughter. That's basically what they told her, which is a lie from the pit of hell.
Yeah.
And my friend said that was one of the last days that she ever could work there anymore, because she realized this is about money. That's what it is. It's about money. It's about control. It's about sterilizing young girls and young boys. And God forgive us that we've let it get this far.
Well, the other scary part is that pediatricians and medical practitioners or therapists who would otherwise advise against it are not allowed to, because they're afraid of being slapped and losing their licenses because of conversion therapy, right? And so they created this ruling that conversion therapy is basically when you tell a child that they may want to slow down or rethink their transitioning process, and frankly, these medical practitioners are afraid. And so what they'll do, I've spoken to many pediatricians about this, who agree with us that these kids should not transition. They should not take this medication. If they want to wear tomboy clothes, that's fine. But to actually go ahead and take the medication and remove their breasts is not the right thing to do. But because these pediatricians are not allowed to sway children away from moving swiftly down this route, they will simply refer them to these gender clinics. And so there are these gender clinics at many of these American hospitals. There's one here in, Children's Hospital in Los Angeles, I believe, has one. If not, it's Cedars-Sinai. But there are many of these hospitals that have these gender clinics. And so imagine these pediatricians, they kind of don't want to deal with it because they don't want to lose their entire license. They don't know what to do. And so you send them to a gender clinic. Well, who do you think works at a gender clinic?
Right.
Who works at a gender clinic if not a person who strongly believes in this religion of transgenderism?
Yeah.
And so once you send them over there, that's it. It's lion's den. They're trapped.
Well, we saw this, didn't we see this in the Rona, right? Good doctors who were trying to warn people, hey, maybe we should slow down. Maybe there should be some more trials for this thing. Maybe this, maybe that. And they were shut up. They were threatened with their licenses. I had several doctors on my show during the COVID-19 pandemic who were saying, listen, I'm having my livelihoods threatened.
Yes.
Because all I want to do is tell the truth. All I want to do is tell my patient, hey, you don't have to do this right now. Go ahead and wait. Or maybe you're contraindicated for this because of this, that, or the other thing. But they are threatened, they are intimidated, and they are signing contracts to say you can't even give someone the opposite opinion. Yeah. That's not medicine. Yeah. That's communism.
Right. Well, when we spoke about COVID on PragerU, they almost shut us down entirely. Our entire platform almost got shut down. I mean, you might follow. That's a conversation for another time. But we're in a huge fight against NewsGuard because they've been attacking us, and they've been pulling any of the technology platforms that work with us. They're trying to pressure them not to work with us because supposedly we're misinformation, because we're informing the public that, children transitioning is a bad thing, or like locking kids down during whatever this lockdown. I don't even call it a pandemic. I call it a lockdown.
Nope.
So it's these are definitely scary things. But I think that the fact that they are now attacking children is is that moment where people are starting to wake up. And, there is a saying that my mother and I say, nobody emerges from hell empty-handed. At least nobody smart emerges from hell empty-handed. And so we are certainly going to emerge. And if under my watch, it's not going to be empty-handed. At the very least, I want to walk out with a victory for our children.
I love that. I so love what you guys are doing. In the last minute or so that we have left, I really want to talk about PragerU Kids. You have an awesome show called Real Talk with Marissa on PragerU. You guys are doing awesome work there. You're giving kids broccoli for their brain. I love that you said that. You need to have like a t-shirt, get some brain broccoli. We could use that.
Yeah.
But with the Lucky Charms, even though the food compass now in the United States will tell you that Lucky Charms is better for you than hard-boiled eggs. Yeah, whatever. World on fire. But tell everybody a little bit about PragerU.
Yeah, so our vision, as you said, is broccoli for the brain. I think many of us have experienced being on YouTube and watching for hours and just feeling like our brain is rotting. We feel
dying. Yeah, we're dying a slow death.
It's so feels so unhealthy. And so the vision behind PragerU is that you can spend hours on PragerU, whether you're 4 years old or 104. You will watch our stuff and get smarter. We try to hide the spinach or hide the broccoli and make it really fun. And so we have shows like the game show, where it's kind of this slime show where you learn about different biographies of people that have impacted Western civilization, but it's in a really fun way. So your kids are not going to fight you on wanting to watch it. It's 100% free. For us, ROI, return on investment, is really return on influence. Again, we just want to create a better culture, a healthier culture, a culture that celebrates patriotism and freedom. And so we make shows for every single age range, including for grown-ups. And so there's an interview show that I do because some of the most interesting people walk through the doors here at PragerU. And I just think it's a great opportunity to sit down and pick their brain. And I'm kind of a nosy person. And so I get to ask all kinds of fun stuff. And so we turn on the cameras here in my office and let people listen into the conversations. So many of them are about issues that parents are concerned about, whether it's how do you allow your child to be on the internet, but you don't send them down this, sexualization and vanity trap that technology has become. Also, what should we do about the lockdowns, or what should we do with regards to any of the issues that might concern us as parents or as adults. So that's my show. But for the kids stuff, we have animated shows. We have a show called Otto's Tales that goes hand in hand with the book. And so you can go ahead and order the book. We make them as cheap as possible because we are a nonprofit. And so if people are impacted by what we do, they can make a donation, however much they can or want to give. But really our goal is to get those books into kids' hands and to make really fun shows. So you don't have to fight with your kids while they're learning. They'll be the smartest kids at the next birthday party if they spend a couple of hours with us a week.
Well, I think that's true across the board. I mean, I've had my kids. I'm running out of kids now. I've got a 12-year-old still at home, but my second or my sixth child's getting ready to graduate from our homeschool, and then I'll be down to one. But our kids have watched Prager University videos for a long time, and I love it. It's one of those things where you can set your kids in front of it, and I'm making dinner and I'm listening to this stuff, and I'm like, dude, that's really good. But I want to give our listeners some of the titles of your shows because they're great. How to protect kids from the dark side of technology, what parents can do about the sexualization of children in the public schools and media. The harm to kids caused by social media outweighs the positives. Boy, oh boy, is that the truth. The medical establishment's push to transition children is dangerous. That's when you had Chloe, I'm pretty sure, on your show. And talking about Western society struggling because of illogical ideas. I mean, we are struggling under the weight of a woke, evil media presence that is just, and we're so used to it now. I mean, everybody's got a phone. We've always got our heads in our phones. Everybody's on social media. And what they've done is they've sucked everybody in. And now the real agenda is coming out. And you guys are really, really giving people a positive alternative to that. And I hope everybody who's listening to that, thousands of people are going to hear this show. And I hope that they check out PragerU. Where can people find you online?
You can go to PragerU.com. You can follow us on Instagram. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's the Marissa Streit. You can follow me there. We're on Twitter. We're back on Twitter now that Elon's around. We're going to start advertising. We're also but the best place to follow us is on PragerU.com, or download the app either onto your smart TV or onto your phone. You'll get alerts and lots of content that big tech won't be able to censor.
So important. It's so great. And I will link back to all those things in the show notes today. I've been writing furiously down some notes. I'm going to link also in the show notes today to the NEA's Today newsletter. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go to HeidiSt.John.com/podcast. As always, I will have those in the show notes today. Marissa Streit, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you at the show. Come back again. Keep us posted on all you guys are doing and stay on the front lines, girl. We need you.
Thank you. Well, we need all of you, and we especially need you, Heidi.
Thank you so much, you guys. This has been a great interview. I hope you've enjoyed hearing from Marissa, and follow her, you guys, on Instagram. You're going to love her videos. I do. It's why I invited her here. The girl is straight fire. Go check it out. And I know you're going to be blessed and encouraged. Thanks for listening. I'll see you back here again tomorrow at the intersection of faith and culture.